Hello and welcome to Inside the Mind of, a It's a Music Thing production. I'm your host, Katie Woods, and I'm so excited for today's episode. If you guys don't know what's happening on this channel, or I guess in this show, I interview everyone. That spans from writers of today's biggest pop hits, as well as artists who are defining underground scenes. And today, I'm joined by Isla Main. If y'all don't know her by now, which I find a little hard to believe, Isla is a singer-songwriter who went from writing songs on her bedroom floor to selling out stadiums. She describes herself as genreless because her music doesn't fit into one genre. It spans from folk to hyper glitch pop, and her newly released third album pushes these boundaries like never before. I want to welcome back Isla Main to the show. Hello from my home studio. Thanks for having me again. Of course, so today we're going to talk about everything that's going on inside the mind of Isla Main. So, when I saw your show at Madison Square Garden, I was in awe of you. Well, thank you so much for coming out. What show did you come to? Yeah, I saw night 3. I wanted to get my hands on tickets before then, but I couldn't because everything just sold out so fast. Yeah, I know, right? Well, the fire, yeah, it was actually horrifying. The heat that comes off of those things is absurd. I thought my costume was gonna melt off. But I work with a really amazing team, though, that helps me think these things through. And I knew I wanted this tour to be like the craziest thing I've done so far, with tones of high art and like an avant-garde nature. And also, I'm lucky enough to, have a career that's grown so much and have a career that has provided me with the funds that has allowed me to like employ my team. You certainly did that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So moving on, I wanted to say congratulations on all 13 of your Grammy nominations. I believe that that's a record. It is. That's so exciting. So, I guess I want to know, what do you think set you up for success in the making of this record-breaking album? That is such an amazing question. Um, I think what like helped me the most in this album, and kind of what's helped me a lot in my career, was that I experienced really strong teachers in my schooling years. Um, And I think that's helped me kind of define my work. I know that I was very lucky that I went to schools where art was emphasized in the curriculum. So I learned like photography, painting, creative writing, and I think all of those skills have helped me in some form in my career, but I know creative writing has helped me the most because I do consider myself to be a lyricist. I think specifically like creative writing, like I said, to help has helped me like a lot in my career. Um, I know that there's authors like Patrick Bazzaro, I think was his name, who argues that creative writing and writing studies as a field can be kind of exclusionary, um, especially to teach. And I think Paul Allen, which is a really exciting name, um, kind of would agree with him because he argues that historically there's been a lack of creative writing in schools. Um, and so it makes it harder to teach, especially because there's not a cohesive and universal method or teaching plan. I think what both of these writings do is they realize, um, kind of the reality and the difficulty that comes with creative writing, and it makes it hard for students to kind of receive conclusive instruction in creative writing. Interesting. Right? So on top of that, I know that the lack of arts education that is happening in waves across the nation heightens the reality of students not receiving proper instruction in creative writing, which is very true. However, I know that writers like Virginia Chestic, I think her name was, kind of would argue that what those two writers before Allen and Pizarro explored in their work, kind of those challenges are not insurmountable. She kind of argues that creative writing could be taught more effectively if certain steps are taken to prepare students for the practice. In her work, she refers to psychologists. I know in her work she refers to like psychologists, I think, who argue that if writing courses focus on preparation for one specific field of writing at a time, so like poetry or fictional novels, then students will become better creative writers overall. Like literally her piece tackles an emphasis on preparation. And I'm sure other authors and other writers who discuss this topic have thought of other methods that can overcome the hurdles that Pizarro and Allen present in their work. Good to know that there's work being done to get closer to this end goal. I know that you are such a big proponent for arts education, but I kind of want to know, and thank you for that, but I kind of want to know, like, why you're so passionate about the subject. Certainly, I know it is. I know it is for me, and it's probably is for you as well, Katie. Because we are such big lovers of music. Yes, but people like Sean Apostle, in his work with students across different grades, shows how creative writing can display capacity for a fuller understanding of a different subject matter. No matter what it is. I think he collected poems that students wrote about what they were learning in a science class. And then they kind of, displayed that knowledge through their poetry. That is great. Wow. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg. Oh, there's more. There's more. There's actually really exciting work like Apostles that helps to understand how creative writing can make positive impacts in fields. Particularly, Patrick Balls explores how poetry can impact mathematics. Poetry, he says, kind of provides students with a lens that they can explore mathematical ideas. So breaking down the mathematical ideas and understanding how they can fit into a poem. And then the poetry can actually help that they do complete, actually does help them learn the ideas. So it's like absorbing the information and understanding the information. That's interesting. I kind of feel like math kind of finds itself in opposition to things that are in the humanities, like writing. Yeah, so like no matter what field one enters in academics or a professional field, creative writing is always so helpful. Thank you for that. That's really insightful. Of course. Moving on, I kind of want to talk about the subject matter for this album, long story short. Why that name, and what do you think was your greatest influence for the tracks that are on this album? That album name kind of stemmed from an idea that I had when I was like trying to sleep one night. Essentially, I really did think that it was a great album title in general, but also it does cover a long story. I think it covers something like 7 years of my life. 7 years in which I did a lot of growing. My career did a lot of growing. And I think you kind of see that a lot throughout the duration of the album, as well as in the music videos. It definitely is. Also, I know I've always wanted to make an album like this throughout my journey as a songwriter and throughout my career. Music and writing have always been such a major part of my life, regardless if it was like writing songs or writing a paper for a class. So I thought it was really important for me to kind of make a chronological album about different moments in my life, kind of like a diary. I think that's what this album serves.